Hi, welcome to another consonant analysis. Today I'm looking at a quote taken from Virginia Roberts, who you may remember was the lady who is implicated or involved with the whole saga involving Jeffrey Epstein and the people that are surrounding him. More recently, I did an analysis of Virginia's speech where she was talking about Prince Andrew of England, and this extract is just taken from the first few minutes of an interview, the candid interview that she sat down and had with an interviewer. So what she says in the extract is, "That 16-year-old girl just let it happen," and looking at the report and the markers that come out, basically what she's saying there indirectly is, she's no longer a 16-year-old girl and she's not going to let it happen anymore. So the interpretation that I've given for the markers is the subject is in full awareness of her situation and therefore her feelings about it, and this is a source of strength for her. That's a very circumspect statement that I made, because when you actually go into the analyses, it's like quite fiery actually. So in terms of themes, we've got fame, power, passion, arrogance, deception, feeble-mindedness, confusion, homesickness, asylum, and procreation and maternal bereavement. And I'll go on to maternal bereavement and procreation when I go through the comments. So comments, I've got genuineness. The results are pretty much the same forwards and backwards, which generally indicates genuineness of message, because if you remember, I normally do reverse analyses. I take the consonants and I put them in reverse, and then I read off the markers from that direction. That's because what tends to happen is the markers in reverse give the underlying meaning of what somebody's actually saying, rather than the consonants in the regular order. In this case, because the extract is so short, to maximise on the meaning or working out what the meaning is, I've done both. I've done both types of analyses. I've done reverse and forwards, so they're both in there. And it's just the case that with both sets of markers, the message is pretty much identical, which is unusual. There are a few what are called palindromes in there. In other words, markers that read the same forwards as backwards, and hence what happens is when you do forwards and backwards analysis, you end up with the same markers. But there's no problems with that. That's nothing to do with the size of the sample. That's just the way that she actually spoke, what she was actually trying to say. Consistency, this is in comments. Consistency, given that the analysis results are consistent with the narrative so far, and by narrative so far I mean, the whole saga, the Epstein saga, and the things that she's already said that I've analysed. And in that they therefore elaborate greatly on the extract taken. In other words, everything that's happened so far. It could be argued that the subject believes what she's saying. She believes what she's saying vis-a-vis the results. In other words, that in the light of everything that's happened so far, in terms of my previous analyses and what's been discovered about Jeffrey Epstein, and in terms of how the markers that I pulled out from her speech fit, and she's actually saying this. Obviously, she doesn't realise she's saying it, so subconsciously she's saying, "I picked it up." It seems that she believes what she's saying is true, and now I have to be very circumspect with these analyses, because I can't categorically state this is so. The whole idea of the analysis is to give somebody, a researcher or somebody who would want to, the opportunity to look into things further, or to get a fuller idea, try and get a fuller idea about what's actually going on in a situation. Okay, so carrying on with comments. I've got change of focus. In the extract, the subject talks about that 16-year-old, meaning that she's not 16-year-old any longer and she's not going to let anything happen, as I mentioned when I started. She's completely in control. Having said all this, there seems to be a conflict in the markers between loyalty, love, and closeness and control, which indicates a shift in the subject's MO, or modus operandi, in other words, way of doing things. So it seems like there's sort of like either she's remembering how she was, and how servile and how loving she was previously, because she was 16, wasn't she? She was at a tender age. We all know, when you have your first love, it's not the same as anything else after that. And also, she was a runaway, which I only learned from this video. I didn't realise she was a runaway. So she was a runaway, and obviously somebody took her in and they treated her nicely, etc. And it was nice for a time until obviously the allegedly, unsavory things started happening. And she had to run away again. So there's sort of like, you sort of like get the sense of that, and then perhaps, and then there's this older person that's on top. So there's like the inner child, and then there's the person that's grown on top, who is not going to stand for all of that. And it does come across that when you're looking at the markers. And also the themes, because I've categorized the markers under themes. So comments, point number 4, procreation. There are 2 markers which are not usual, they're unusual. One is for giving birth, while the other is for child bereavement of a mother. Does this indicate a child death, abortion? Is this the partly the reason for the subject's change of emphasis? Because what you tend to find with girls and women is there's a change when they become a mother. They become more protective, more maternal, and you see a difference. I remember watching a video with regards to mothers testifying in court, with regards to the children being affected by these terrorist attacks and so forth. And basically the person that was, he was the commentator on the video, says the CIA learned that you don't piss off a mother, because basically if you sort of like, if you've engineered an incursion, in other words, you've sort of like done a false flag event. This is what he was talking about. If you've how would I say? If you've engineered a false flag event in which somebody's going to get hurt, nowadays the CIA use, they use stooges. They don't actually use real people. They use actors. They don't actually use, real kids anymore, because, the mothers will fight you to death through the courts. So she's changed basically. She's a different person, and perhaps that might be the reason, why she's changed. And finally, point 5 for comments, I've got, actually, no, sorry, it just came to me. In the Cristiano Ronaldo case, which I've done an analysis of, you find in there quite a few markers to do with staying at home, and being comfortable. And the impression, if you watch that video, the impression that you get from that is there a question mark? Is there a child? Is there a child involved? Because of those markers, they're very specific, and they've not actually come from Ronaldo either. They've come from somebody who was paid to actually go out and look for Ronaldo to serve court orders on him. So that's something that, it's sort of like a parallel, essentially. When you get these specific markers, to do with children and staying at home, this type of thing. So finally, for comments, I've got 5. Hair. The presence of the marker for long, luxuriant hair is unusual and features prominently in the analysis that I performed on Ted Bundy as well. It's a marker which you don't usually get, but it appeared with Ted Bundy. And then when I researched, because I didn't really know his story, I was just examining the extract. It turns out that he had this thing for combing, chopping off the heads of his victims, and combing them and doing them up with makeup. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. If you like the analysis, which will be in the description below, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Have a nice day, and see you in the next analysis.